horse drifted alarmingly in the betting, was, fenced in the morning, continued to drift. He was late on the exchanges to lose. It was something you'd see in a Dick Francis novel, Charles Buttons.
The ground is soft. It's
heavy.
It's soft on times.
It's heavy.
Okay.
And a very warm welcome to the first edition of the Barsters Inquiry Sunday Sermon for 2023. And what an action-packed show we've got for you. Alas, though, without one contributor today, poor Chris can't make the show. So, of course, it's going to be much better without him. Of course it is, because it's myself and John Lang. This is like a phone call between us two, chewing the fat. What could be better listening? Good evening, John.
Tinnitus could be probably better listening, but...
Well, we're going to make a real good fist of this show. There's plenty to get through. It's a good schedule we've got. And we're going to start, we might as well get on with it straight away, mate, and look at the Christmas racing. Everything that we've seen and observed. And you'll have definitely watched more ITV racing than me. So anything that you noticed from them goons over the festive period, feel free to chuck it in, John. Right, we'll go back to Boxing Day. It seems ages since Boxing Day now. It does. I forgot. Yeah, and obviously the main focuses were the Kauto Star, where Time Hill beat McFabulous finished lame. Nothing else jumps. Time Hill didn't even jump that well. It was his usual bunny hop technique, which is it's not a natural, is it? Time Hill over fences, John.
No, how much bearing that would have on Cheltenham, I wouldn't be entirely sure. Well, I'd be fairly sure it won't have a lot of bearing on Cheltenham, to be honest. Time Hill is a good horse, probably better over hurdles, really.
Oh, miles better. The technique is it's just not a natural. It gets over them. It's intelligent enough to, but it's just not quick. It's kind of it doesn't make the right sort of shape of its back as it's going over them. It kind of just gets over them. And the 10-1 for the Brown Advisory makes absolutely zero appeal. I'm surprised. They've only entered, obviously, in one race at Cheltenham, which is the Stayers Hurdle, over hurdles. So that's the only option they've got in the graded stakes categories. But yeah, look, it is what it is. Me and you'll be back over hurdles because I think the Stayers Hurdle's quite up for grabs this season. It's quite wide open. Obviously we'll touch on Leopardstown and Home by the Lee in a bit, but it won't be chasing for us, I don't think. I think we're pretty unanimous on that. Constitution Hill, obviously established is what we already know about him. Did nothing different. Equally impressive as Newcastle, John, would you say?
Yeah, I thought so, really. I mean, he just keeps mullering the other one, didn't he? And is that it now till Cheltenham?
I think so. Henderson did sort of make that noise that he said that, basically, you know what he's like. I mean, unless it's one of them, and if he can turn up somewhere and he can see entries popping in, and they might, and if he thinks he could just have another breeze, at tens on.
He'll be looking for 7s to 10s on.
Something like that. He wants to be taking on something Nicky Richards or something like that. Yeah. Okay, we'll move on. Nothing really to add to that. It's still 4-11. Price didn't move after the win, so did as expected. Then the King George, shock to a few people. Obviously, only an SP 11-4, but we were quite vociferous against him in the pod. Brave man's game, putting everyone to the sword. But again, it was a bit of an unsatisfactory race in that nothing else really jumped that great, did they?
No. I mean, there was one or two and absolute stillness as well. I mean, everybody LN, dear God, I mean, that just didn't show anything, did it? The Hoysenyor's probably gone. I think Frodon probably did the winner a favour, not going too quick.
Yeah.
I think that was illustrated by the fact that Frodon kept on for third, would have been fourth. I still wouldn't be too keen on Brave Man's game for the Gold Cup, in all honesty.
No, which do you think they'll go for? It's similar price for both of them, around the 10-1 mark, I believe. That or the Ryanair. If he were yours, John, would you be sending him for the Ryanair if you could have a pop at Cheltenham? Yeah.
Yes, I would. I don't think the Gold Cup would be ideal over 3-2.
No, even though he's won that well and stretched away, it is Kempton. And it's absolute chalk and cheese, especially if there's any juice in the ground at Cheltenham, which Nichols had a fanny paddy, didn't he?
He kind of indicated on Boxing Day he could probably win 2 or 3 of these.
Yeah, it depends what the Irish send over. I mean, a few Twitter debates emerged about the King George, and I think Icy was one of them, saying that Mullins could probably send something over most years to win King George's if he wanted, and obviously a few other trainers over there as well. It's as if like the King George is a bit out of fashion with the Irish. Would you agree with that?
Maybe it appears to be. I mean, Drecker has sent horses over the last 2 years, hasn't he? And
yeah,
they run like shit.
Well, that's it. Maybe it's a funny track, Kempton, because if you're not in a rhythm early, you're kind of fucked, aren't you? We've seen Desert Orchid being spectacular around there, and then we've also seen likes of Desert Orchid, just when he's not on his A game and he's not in a rhythm, they get beat. The distances are accentuated because they're just not in any time, and you have to jump slick and fast and keep at a good pace to seem to win a King George. And the chalk and cheese, really, Kempton and Cheltenham. And I don't think it tells us anything about the Gold Cup picture at all. So we'll move on from that. We go to Leopardstown on Boxing Day for some of their high definition, John. Over hurdles.
At long last, now we got a massive payday out of high definition.
Yeah, well, there you go. I mean, to be honest, his engine, if he can brush his jumping up a bit, his engine will see him through. Actually, I think he's got enough engine to be sort of a good hurdler. So it'd be interesting what happens with him. But
in the Coronation Cup, wasn't he? For Christ's sake, I mean,
he's got some turf. And
play around the jumping stage and go close in anything, really.
Just be interesting because obviously with his SP as well. I mean, he weren't expected. It's not like he were expected.
No,
9-2.
Well, I think he's let people down that often.
Yeah,
you could understand them not getting smashed in first time over there.
I think he's just not got the gears, has he? It's an high cruising speed he's got, but it's not. But when he's asked to on the flat, he was asked to go and lengthen, and there were no change of pace, were there?
No, but I mean the speed he showed when leading that Tattersall's Gold Cup in the spring over 10 at the Curragh. I mean, that kind of speed, I'd say a lot of jumps out, he's getting lapped.
Wouldn't it? No, it's interesting. I wouldn't write that horse off. So, I know people have. You can tell with the SP, it's a bit of a yak. But the Baby Joseph, he's really good at training juvenile hurdlers, etc., and novice hurdlers.
It comes out of this, I mean, if it's actually enjoyed doing it. I mean, if Jossie's gone home and fretted over it, it might run a stinker next time, you never know. But
yeah, exactly, yeah. Lossiemouth did it easy in the night. Frank, it was a very slow pace that though. It's really hard to read in terms of form because they absolutely walked in that. And time was about 4 seconds slower than high definitions, so you could tell how slow they went. In fact, it was only the same time as the novice handicap hurdle winner. So they just crawled. So again, we haven't learned anything on the Lossiemouth, a good juvenile. In the novice chase, the Grade 1 Saint-Ouen, again, Phil Dorr made a catastrophic error 3 out. Those Leopardstown fences, I tell you what, they are stiff, aren't they? If you hit one, you know about it. As tracks go, you can get away with it at some places, but it seems to me at Leopardstown, and it happened to Shack and Porsoir as well. If you hit them, you're done.
It's a stopping track, isn't it? If you put a foot wrong, you're in trouble.
Yeah, you've got to jump well, and again, that was Saint Rod, jump better than Field Door and ended up winning. But again, don't think we learnt a lot. Nothing for Cheltenham for me out of this anyway. I'm not fans of anything in there in regards to the Arkle. I think Samoir's got a lot of options for Cheltenham, or did have. Two. Sorry, he's in the Arkle or he's in the Stayers Hurdle. He's Samoir. So I don't think they know themselves what they're going to do or where everything's going to end up. So we'll move on to the 27th, and we got the Welsh National. I didn't do much at Chepstow myself, John, that day. Anything at Chepstow stand out for you there?
No, I mean, for me, the Welsh National is a race that stands on its own now as well. I don't really take it as a point to anything else. No, I agree. It's a slugfest. The Wayward Lad at Kempton and the Desert Orchid were the sort of feature races there of the day. And again, Boot Hill's done
Bootle didn't have to run to form.
No, he only did what you would have expected him to do anyway, wouldn't he?
Yeah, he's just ran to his mark. Obviously, the Skelton horse departed, and Outcome Risk was very game, but obviously Bootle just got that little bit too much for him. Again, they'll probably go Arkle with Boot Hill, but as we saw John Bond thrash him at Sandown, he'd be out. You'd probably just say, if you were more realistic, you might think Grand Annual, perhaps.
Well, you wouldn't go to the Arkle thinking you got much chance of winning it, would you?
I don't think so, but the owner, he's a nice guy, and I wish him well with Boot Hill, because it's finally fulfilling its potential, John. When we followed it the season before.
I'd say once we're off it.
It is. And then Eddie de Geet won the Desert Orchid. Again, just a race not to Edwardstone, obviously unseating rider. And Nubi Negra, obviously nowhere near the form that he's produced in the past. Obviously, looking at the moment, if that's what he's got in the locker, I'm afraid Nubi Negra, that's probably him done in terms of probably competing at the highest level, I would say, on the back of that. Would you agree?
Absolutely, yeah.
It was a disappointing effort. Obviously, the editor didn't made all, but the time was 1.5 seconds slower than Boot Hill. So it's a race not to get involved with, I don't think. So Nubi Negra fans, I think your time's up with him. We go to Leopardstown again. A tremendous festival for the Irish. They absolutely love it at Christmas over there. The one thing I did learn from this day is I'm only excited about one horse. And that's the third in the Paddy Power Future Champions, John. Ashrow Diamond. Facile Vega won the race, but again, they're giving it easies on the front end. It's like, well, it was second. All right, it didn't lead, it was second, but basically he just kicked on. It's his own thing. Ashrow Diamond, they dropped out last. They dropped it out last the time before. For me, they've not been off the last twice with her. This is a good mare. She's a really good mare. She was a good bumper horse. She absolutely pissed up at Aintree in the mare's bumper. She won a novice hurdle beating Kansas City Star on debut. And it's as if they've said, right, we're going to run in grade ones, but we're just going to drop her out last and not be asked. If they give it, right, so she's eligible for a handicap mark now. And I don't see how you could give her more than about 130, which I think she's a top mare. I think she'd be a contender a big contender for like a mare's hurdle, things like that. I think she's a very, very good mare. But if they get a mark of 130, they might be thinking, well, we'll absolutely piss up in any handicap we're running. I think she's thrown in, and I don't think they've utilised her to her full potential yet. And like I said, getting within 9 lengths of the winner that's been at the run of the race, and that's his favourite for the Supreme. They've got a well-handicapped mare there, John, in my opinion.
Very possibly. I mean, it's a bit of a guessing game what Willie's going to go under, isn't it? You probably have to just sit tight and see what happens.
Facile Vega, look, it's all well and good. And, I get why it's favourite for the Supreme and a strong one, but again, I'd like to see something try and take it out of its comfort zone, just basically try. Then you can think, well, that's a good horse, because and we haven't seen that yet. We've just seen just cakewalks, and it's difficult to assess for me to be getting excited and saying, oh yeah, this is a blogger style banker. The race before, the Paddy Rewards Club Chase, the Grade 1 race, Blue Lord won. Again, not a fantastic renewal of the race, really. Chacun Pour Soir made an absolute howler. I think it was a second last, a third last, tricky fence, and got it completely wrong. So, again, Blue Lord was impressive, but it's another one, really, that I'm not that excited, John, for a Queen Mother. And the fact that I think, I'm just going to check the odds. They've actually cut it right into 7-1 after that performance. But weren't a performance, despite the ease of the win, I didn't get excited by it.
I'd be a little bit interested if it was double the price for the Queen Mother. But I think 7-1's absolutely derisory. I mean, Captain Guinness has had his cock out for everybody to see, hasn't he? And we know exactly where we are with that one.
Yeah.
I think 7-1, it'd be bigger on the day one.
Well, we have to remember that Edwardstone thumped him in the Arkle last year. He was third in the Arkle to Edwardstone. So, again, to be 6 or 7-1 at this stage, it's not much appeal to me. Some of these anti-purse prices are embarrassing. Just to mention for Real Steel that won the Paddy Power Chase, the handicap chase, went to Paul Nicholls, couldn't raise a gallop, John.
Back. I tipped it a few times.
I know you did. Yeah, because well, it's us, isn't it? After Saturday's performance again, it's us. But yeah, I mean, this is an horse that went to Nichols. He couldn't get it. He couldn't get it to run a yard. And then as soon as it's back to the Irish, all of a sudden it must be air. must be some kind of air floating in off Irish sea, maybe.
Let him lick the brownie stone or something.
The producer's done that, John.
Has he?
Yeah, the producers lick the made no difference to me. I've done my bollocks in the last 5 years. Fuck the Blarney Stone.
Well, you could start with licking it, couldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, look. There's people on Twitter that said about like carrots and stuff, and like magic carrots are back, and and stuff like that. But who knows, really? All we know is, well, I mean, what I've been told privately is Nichols just were bemused that he couldn't get these horses that he got off Willie Mullins to run to. I know this is Emmett McNamara real still now, but he got it off Willie Mullins. And he couldn't get it to run anything. Like it was just like, this horse works averagely. It's just an average horse, but yet 50 plus for Wicked Willie. There we go. Enough said. Is it carrots? Who knows? Who knows what it is? But it could be air, could be anything. Anyway, 28th, we move on. And probably, again, only one meeting worth talking about, which was Leopardstown. The Grade 1, the Jack de Bromhead Christmas Hurdle. Everyone was cheering for Henry de Bromhead, John, Bob Ollinger. Get the tears, get the tissues out, everything for poor Henry and the family. And part of me was actually, because I didn't have a bet in the race. I did like Flooring Porter, but I thought it was short enough. Home by the Lee's improving stayer. I can see that. He's now sort of, I think he's floating around 6-1, John, for Stayers Hurdle, like Fav. I don't know though.
He was 7-1 to win that. He's a shorter price to win the harder race.
Yeah, well, it's going to be in it. But I mean, Bob Ollinger, it comes back to what you said a long time ago, and we have to trumpet some good comments on our Friday shows, because there ain't much to trumpet at the moment. so I mean, we'll rewind back in time, and John Lang said, this is what he said before he took on Galloping Deschamps. He says, I've noticed, I think this horse has got a problem.
I did, yes.
You said this is an after timing. Didn't say after the race. He said before the race, I think this is running like it's got an issue, and John was clear about it. And I think, John, you've been absolutely vindicated. I think the horse has hung left since quite a few times. Again, the response under pressure was very underwhelming. Your message to me after the race is, when is he retiring it?
Well, yeah, I mean, they don't seem as though they're any closer to finding out what the problem was, because, I mean, they backed the horse quite heavily. Well, somebody certainly backed it quite heavily on the 28th. And, I mean, it's been the same story since Cheltenham last year. The minute it's come off and Brain has to lengthen, it's just fallen apart, right? It
has, hasn't it? It's fallen apart like a lovely cut of prime beef on a Sunday, and you've just cutting it, and it's just falling off of it. As you're cutting it, it's just falling off.
Indeed.
Yeah. Getting everyone going. Everyone's stuffed now. Listen, they've had the dinners, haven't they? Anyway, so good stuff from John, really, because I've always said when John says something paddock-wise or something he picks up physically about something, he's one of my go-to people, always has been. The 220 then, John, the Savills Chair, confirmed what we said on the joint podcast with the USO boys and girls. We said that Conflated looked a very good bet, and that proved so in the race, didn't it?
We can tip winners when we're on somebody else's spot.
Well, that's what we do. Yeah, you're gonna have to. Listeners, you're gonna have to go when we do it again. You'll have to. Well, if we do it again, we're never not get invited back.
We're in a rush to have us back.
No, we were disgraceful, terrible. You offered nothing. Declan Carroll, who's been on our show before, he tipped more winners than us. Pissed, completely pissed. So there we go. Fine advert for the Barsters, that was. But anyway, we did manage to get one right with Conflated. We were bouncing with that, and again, nothing to say though, John, is there really?
No more than you could have expected. It'd have been different if you'd absolutely hacked up against them. You could have said, well, wow, this is ours that's catching fire at possibly the right time.
Yeah.
But, it was exactly what it was, wasn't it?
12-1, John, for both the Gold Cup and the Ryanair.
That's sicker than sleeping with your sister, isn't it?
I'll tell you what, and a lot of people's commented on this regarding anti-post prices. I don't know why they're doing it, right? But it's like they just seem really, the value's just hardly there. These days when people say, oh, what do you fancy for Cheltenham? What are the best anti-post bets at this stage? And you look down the list and it's like, everything's like priced up as if it were like, I don't know, like really defensively. There's nothing sort of...
I had breakfast with Hitler yesterday. And,
nothing worse.
I know, it wasn't. It was a terrible breakfast as well. Tomahawk steakhouse. It was horrible. And it was chumping on about one of the firms has gone non-running no bet from the 1st of January. And I said, well, really, the fuckers are betting like it's non-running no bet now.
Yeah. I agree. I agree. There are a few horses I can actually pick out, other than the ones that you fancy long term that you're thinking, but you don't know that they're going to enter. You don't know if it's all in the dark at the moment. You know, you'd have to take chances, and like you say, you are better. Like you say, wait for the non-runner no bet to come in off them all. But like you said, John, the value is so limited, and it doesn't get me excited like it used to. Not that I got excited over jumps race anyway, but there was sometimes you think, wow, this is never going to be this price on the day, and there's few times you can say that now. I mean, look at this for example, right? So Maxim, that pissed up in the Pertemps qualifier on 2 races before the Savills, Fat Gordons, won 16 lengths, and it's 4-1 favourite now for the Pertemps. 4-1. I mean, come on, man. You know, it's like it's not going to be much shorter than that on the day, is it?
No, I mean, just going back to that Savills chase.
Sorry, yeah.
I did think that French Dynamite ran another pointer for the Ryanair.
Yeah, I didn't get it. It travelled really well. I noticed he was trading quite short in running. I think he was like about 5-2, 11-4 before the home turn.
Yeah,
in the run.
I mean, I do think this is quite a nice horse. I don't think he was ridden to best advantage. I didn't think he wanted to lead last time he ran at Cheltenham. But I think given a lead and a fairly quiet ride, I think he could creep into a Ryanair a bit late, you know?
Yeah.
He's one to be very interested in backing in running if he was settled off a decent pace in a Ryanair.
Only problem is he's not entered.
Never.
Not entered.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, not got an entry, so they've definitely not got Cheltenham aspirations. But I get your point. I do get, before knowing that, I get your point. Yeah, not got an entry, which is quite odd. Very, very strange. John, the contender for the bastard of the day, or bar steward, as we should say, bar steward of the day, is the BFG trained I Am Maximus in the 255 that ran second to Gentleman's Game. Did you watch that?
I did.
Now that is an absolute. I mean, a complete. What's funny though, it's probably a 150 shithouse, isn't it? A complete shitbag.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine what that could run to if it decided. Do you know what? I'm gonna play this game instead of trying to play it like O'Sullivan. I'm gonna play it like Cliff Thorburn, methodically build my breaks and
Yeah.
But he's an absolute nutcase. I mean, we're all over the place, jumping all over the place. Even got himself back into contention at last, and then just said, "No, I've done now. That's me done." It's just an hilarious horse. Chucked it away last time. Popeye had him when he were over here, so God knows what they're going to do with him.
He's a deeply unpleasant creature, isn't he?
He's not even one of them you'd say it's a concentration issue, because like you put blinds on, I don't think that helps. I just think it's probably making worse. I don't think it's even like, oh yeah, we can do something with it. It's not. He's an absolute Larry bugger. He's all over the shop.
Put a line through, didn't he? Really?
Yeah, it's a shame because he's obviously got the engine.
Stacks of ability, but
oh yeah, but he's crazy. He's crazy mother. Okay, 29.
About sticks, isn't it? There's so many horses that's like jaded or JD, and I just dread when these whip rails come in, because honestly, there's going to be owners and trainers wanting machine guns.
Yeah, definitely. Right, we'll move on to the 29th, and this was where Gallard de Menil won again. I thought this was quite poorly contested, for a 3 mile novice. And again, Gallimond de Menil, he's a very slow horse, running the Irish National. His entries for the festival, he's in the Brown Advisory, obviously. He's in the National Hunt Chase of a 3 mile 6. He's 11-4 for that, and that's his most likely destination. You'd have to say
he'd be dangerous in that, but Jesus Christ,
11-4. I know. This is every race we look at. It's really difficult to find like an edge or going forwards, like for listeners to even say, 11-4. Imagine you can find 11-4 shot tomorrow that do the biz and dot up. Well, I'll make it sound easy. We can't, but anyway.
Apart from like the novice hurdles, really, and stepping in if you hear something before one makes the hurdles debut, they've got this by the bollocks. You can't really have a bet, can you?
It is by the bollocks. You're right, totally right. Then we go on to the Matheson hurdle, this took my eye quite a lot because I obviously I like Vauban, I like Stateman. Two horses I really like, and again with Wicked Willies, Vauban was very negatively ridden, dropped out, no interest whatsoever in tracking Stateman closely. They wanted him out the back. I don't think there's a lot between the pair, to be honest. I'll be perfectly honest. I think, but the way, if they ride Vauban in the Champion Hurdle exactly like they did here, they can't beat Stateman again, because on the old course at Cheltenham, that Stateman is the absolute kingpin to Constitutional. It's the Ernie McCracken against Munson, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like that. That's what we're looking at in the fact. And Vauban is around there is probably like the Amish fella that were good at bowling, but anyway, what a terrible comparison. I don't know what I'm doing here, but Stateman is suited by Cheltenham because of his running style. He just gets on with it, gets out there, no problem. That's what you want for the old course at Cheltenham. Come spring.
He was quite well handicapped the last time he was there, wasn't he?
Oh no, yeah, the good old Willie, Wicked Willie, awful man. Good trainer, but just absolutely just has everything by the bollocks in terms of handicap marks. That's why I like his Ashro, the mare of his that I mentioned earlier, Ashro Diamond, because she gets 130. Jesus, they're having it right off. But Stateman, yes, he is the Irish with Honeysuckle the mare, possibly on a slight downward curve now. I think Stateman's the one, but again, you look at the prices. It's 4-11 Constitution Hill, 5-1 Stateman. You can get, don't all jump on it at once. 4-6 Stateman without Constitution Hill. So if Popeye said Constitution Hill's a non-runner, Stateman will be 4-6, John, to win a Champion Hurdle.
Staggering, isn't it?
And it's like, whilst I'm not saying that's the worst price I've ever seen. I'm just saying that they don't give him much away. So now you're expected to take 4-6. Geez, that's just not a good anti-purse bet, is it? You're taking 4-6.
At the end of the day, these are jump horses, aren't they? They're all a bit fucking leggy in that. You're taking prices 3 months in advance. No, it's not my cup of tea at all.
No, and what even adds more to the puzzle? Maybe they just did this just in case. But he's entered in the Arkle and the Turners, novice chasers. So
you're probably in the fucking Cesarewicz next year.
Turns up off 87 or something. Yeah. And they've got it off to a fine art, haven't they? You've got to hand it to them. Crazy, but but Stateman also I love for Cheltenham, and I can see if for whatever reason if Constitution Hill doesn't turn up on the day, that one is it's a real deal really. Right, Friday 30th offered nothing apart from Norman Adams putting me away from Haydock, and then we went to New Year's Eve yesterday, where we had just one race, John, I want to cover because this blew me away. We got it completely wrong. Well, we didn't say it was a bad horse. We just said it's just the price, really. We just opposed him because of the price. Hermes Alen, absolutely dotted on the Billy Idol in a really good time. He was like, what was he, 5 seconds faster than the Emery Daily handicap hurdle winner. That's going to be 130, 135. And he's gone 5 seconds faster on bridle. I mean, this horse is just, I'm raving about this one. I think if I were to have a Cheltenham bet now, and someone said, give me any Cheltenham bet, I want one now. 4-1 this for the Ballymore. I'm taking it.
Yeah, I wouldn't argue with that. It does look a tiny bit of value compared to the horses we've been talking about.
Yeah.
Because everything about that horse tells you he'd probably prefer better ground.
Yes.
His hurdling is as slick as anything you'd see anywhere.
Yes.
Terrific jumper of a hurdle. You would assume if he goes straight there off this, well, he's got to run some kind of race, hasn't he?
You go back to the Cheltenham form, and the one you liked, the future Gold Cup and Grand National winner, We've All Been Caught. That you love this horse. You love that horse physically, don't you?
Yeah.
And he was third and Hermes. Obviously, we know that Hermes Allen would have more toe than him, but he's got him one at Cheltenham today and put in a very good performance. And I've rated that run today at 139. It has to come out about 139. Well, Hermes Allen is pissed on that, and you just think, well, it's got to make it 150 plus minimum. So if you beat, you're going to be. Well, you're going to be challenging at the last. It's one of them, innit? So for 4-1 now, I don't think that's bad, because that race could also cut up. Other targets might just say no. I've looked at the runners in that and thought, you won't run there, you won't run there, and I can see that that's the one piece of value. I can actually see that horse being like 9-4, 2-1 on the day, rather than like the same price. Like you take a price now and it's like it's the same price, aren't they? Anyway, but yeah, that's the one bit I think they still haven't got quite right. They've not quite corrected it. But anyway, that'd be my choice. I'm glad you agree with that, by the way. So that's about New Year's Eve summed up, I think. And today, obviously, the tearjerker to finish the review off for racing fans in Ireland. I love the cheer at Tremor for Minella Indo when it won that race. It was nice. Again, it's one for the good guys. Emery de Bromhead and our darling Rachel stealing the show from Statler after Statler had got his head in front on the run-in and thankfully dogged it.
To be fair, Minella Indo thought like a fucking
lion
there, didn't he?
Yeah. It was good to. Do you know? I love the crowd. I was listening to the crowd. You just felt the buzz after that had won.
Well, they've been gagging for Drac to have a decent winner for God knows how long, haven't they? Really, since January with the lad and everything.
It's dreadful business, and like you said, I think the emotion around that it was a nice way to start 2023, just from the good guys' point of view. Okay, that's the review done with. We've finished talking horse rubbish now, John. Unless you've anything to add, John, anything that you else? No. Right, it's time to talk turkey as always, as we do on sermons. We're a pod that's known for our forthright opinions on things, and we're going to start it on. And I think this is great to start 2023 talking about mental health. I don't know if listeners are aware. I don't know how often I've said it in the past. I can't remember. We've done that many episodes, but I've been a long-term sufferer of it. This kind of stops me from attending events. Sometimes I'll back out at the last minute. Sometimes I'll just not. I can't face certain things. I've no idea why that is. I genuinely don't. I can't answer the question why that stop me from doing it. It just does. It's debilitating. I suffer from anxiety when I'm queuing up for things and stuff. It's a constant battle, to try and fight it. And when people say, dismiss mental health, you're just being sad and it's to do with you're not winning and because of my job and stuff like that. It's not, because there's been times, John, when I'm winning fortunes.
I know you've been going well, and
I'm still
you're still down the rabbit hole.
and I'm still completely in a mess. And it is one massive battle for me, and that's why I've always been an advocate of mental health. And even though, and then people might say, oh, well, how can you run a podcast that's critical of others and start slagging others off? The difference is that it should not stop anyone from being critical. People, that basically are not behaving very, very well. That just because yes, I know what people might be thinking. Oh, well, this is ironic. You're moaning about mental health, but no, this is a problem for a lot of people, and we do have to be careful. And I made a big mistake for the Cotty Awards because I decided on a format that would obviously create pylons on social media, and we know that's wrong because, again, I don't want to see anyone read bad things about them. It's just sometimes that John, it would have possibly, been very unsavoury. Don't you agree?
It was definitely heading that way.
Yeah.
That at the end of the day, that's not what we're about, really. What we try to do is call out misdemeanors in the sport and people that aren't doing the job properly. And there was an awful lot of people nominated there that you could say anything but they're doing the job properly, because they are, and there shouldn't have been anywhere near nominations, in all fairness.
No, it's only. We allowed the listeners to nominate the finalists, and like you say, it kind of it was really on my mind, about it. Well, you know that because I contacted you and Catherine Fry, which again we're going to come on to now. Catherine Fry's recent experience for Cheltenham. This is a bar steward's bombshell, by the way, that Catherine Fry has hung up a microphone. And that's not just with the bar stewards. She's done it in racing, BBC Radio Gloucester, any kind of racing. She's finished. And John, me and you, and I know Catherine doesn't know that we're saying this on the show. We haven't asked her permission or anything, but we can talk about it freely because it's what we do. What I'm trying to say is that we think that the Cheltenham episode with Catherine had possibly a big impact on her, don't we? We think that.
You go into your place of work and people are saying, "Oh, you need to do this, you need to do that, otherwise you're going to be outcast." It's totally unpleasant, and you can understand on top of external worries that you might have, it all gets a bit much.
Yeah, and she's not. That's the thing. It's like I want people to give her some love after this show because just say hello and whatever, because I do believe she's a good bar stewards contributor and has been, and I know I've spoke to her personally as a person for a while, and like I say, it wasn't the biggest shock to me that she's done this, but at the same time, I think it's wrong that she's been possibly forced out of doing something she loves because, of certain people's opinions, because mainly she was associated with us.
Yeah, I don't think Catherine had said anything offensive all the time she was on the show.
No.
I think her conduct in a professional life is A1. I think she's a terrific person, one of the nicest people that I know. I just think that the whole business was horrible.
Yeah, indeed. And so if you're suffering and you've had a sort of a bad time this Christmas, it's sort of a message to you, really, that there's a lot of people suffering, and it is a real issue, especially after the tough few years we've had, dealing with what we've had to deal with and the problems, issues in the world. But if there's one piece of advice I can give to anyone, how to get the best out of it, is try and think 24 hours ahead. That's all. No more. Forget your problems, forget your bills, forget everything else. That your bills are still going to exist if you think about them, or you don't, or any issues or worries are still going to exist. The key to it is try and build a routine every day. Got a pet, take it for a walk. Like at the same time, get up, get a wash, make your bed, do everything that basically it's like a routine. It's like your job. And that's what you need to do, and only think 24 hours ahead, make sure your family are aware of your problems also. Do not keep this sort of hidden. Just say, I'm really struggling at the moment. And you'll find that your family are very supportive, or friends are very supportive, rather than, it's not a shameful thing, to talk about. So, but these are things that I've done. You try and keep a routine, do the same thing, and it can help. It can, if it's a shower first thing, if it's a like I say, a dog walk, or if it's a, make your bed, just make sure you have a routine that suits yourself, and keep well in 2023, because that's it. It's a tough thing when you're suffering mentally, and my DMs are always open for anyone that wants to chat.
I had very little good advice from the old fella back in my formative years. One thing I did learn, apart from keep your rate up because his left hook was fucking lethal, was when I was starting off in this spark, and I was a bit edgy about what I was doing and nervous and what have you. And he said, look, always remember, he said, unless you're a gunfighter, you're going to end your day at work still alive, Nothing that's going to happen to you tomorrow is going to end your life. Take that on board and don't fret too much, And I did notice something I thought was very, very positive. The Fergal O'Brien team actually opened the yard up to people that are suffering with mental health.
Amazing what they do. Amazing.
It's absolutely fantastic, and I think it deserves a mention, because they say you can just come down, spend time with the horses. You're not limited to one visit. Yeah, that is a fucking good team down there.
Yeah, it's a good social media account, is that, and love from Bastards to Fergal O'Brien and the team for that. And like I said, our DMs, John included, are always open. You can always have a chat if you need to about any problems, any advice you need. It's one of them things I like to do. I like to help people in that way. If people are really struggling and suffering, and that's something that I've always got time for, even in busy days. I've done it before, and I'll make sure I always carry on doing that. So yeah, good subject that. Not close to the heart, and we wish Catherine Fry very well, and we'll always keep in touch with her. And if she ever changes her mind and wants to come back to the Bastards, then she has a microphone and a chair always spare. Right, move on to other topics. Gambling with Lives duo, John, get MBEs. Now, it's quite a heartfelt. We've just been talking about heartfelt subjects. I mean, Charles Ritchie and his wife, they lost their son. Obviously, gambling, done a lot of money in. He was in Vietnam and he took his own life. Now, whilst I am sympathetic to any stories like that, we're not evil human beings. It's a case of I just feel that this is becoming very classist. They've been given MBEs, which is great. Okay, you've done work, but essentially they are a gambling help group charity that are essentially looking for prohibition. They're looking to stop people from betting because they don't want that harm to come to anyone else that ends up like their son. Now, that's all well and good, but then again, we've touched on this subject before. Gambling is a very, very enjoyable pastime that's enjoyed by many, many people across the globe. Chris actually wrote a fantastic article, which is available on our website. You want to check this out. It's on our Twitter feed as well, on why we gamble. And John, this seems to me like it's almost like the Matrix. It's like a rigged game. It's like, right, we'll give MBEs to people that are like anti-gambling. Like we've entered a society where the word safe is more important than actually living.
Yeah. You definitely say that from the New Year's honours list as well. There's a lot of people on there that you think they were handed to the narrative, and that's like the tip of the iceberg. It's the part of the iceberg we're most interested in, obviously, but there's a lot of people on that New Year's honours list that you could look and think, well, wow, Well, it's happened in many years gone by, and hasn't it? You've seen some absolute cretins become sirs, MBEs, and you just think, geez, what do you have?
You know, there's genuine people out there. I'll give an example. Kevin Sinfield. You know, I forget his name. It's the chap that suffers from motor neuron disease at Leeds Rhinos.
Right.
And Kevin Sinfield's ran back-to-back marathons and stuff like that. Literally done all sorts, and he never got on the list. You know, one of the great heroes of the sporting world for the last 2 or 3 years, helping his mate and raising awareness for nothing, zero. And I just think there's a certain narrative that obviously you can see that they've come for gambling because they don't want money laundering. Criminals use it to money launder, which we know. And basically, it's a thing. It's classics. Like I said, 30 trillion, John, 30 trillion pounds was lost on the stock market this year. Right? I got my IG statement through the other day, and it says I can make a deposit anytime I want via credit card. So tell me that's not classic.
It's totally classic.
So we're still, even in this day and age, we're dealing with betting is bad. You know, the chap that wants to try and land a lucky 31 to take his family on holiday or whatever because normally they can't afford it. They're being told, no, you can't afford to bet. No, you know, and the chaps that are on the stock market can deposit whatever they want. I could do it tomorrow. I can put 10 grand in on my MasterCard and then see if I can blow it, you know, trading the dollar, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's bonkers. I do think, right, some of these gambling arm groups, I get it. I'm trying to side with them sometimes as well. But the fact remains is that what they're advocating, it's a prohibition. It's a stake limit. It's like everyone's cast under the same brush that wants to have a bet. Oh, you're allowed, the government might bring it in on the white paper. You're allowed £1,500 a year to bet. What? You know, it's absolutely mental. Which brings me on to the next subject, moving quickly on to the BHA Chair, Joe Suarez-Smith, the interview regarding him, who I did have a chuckle. He sounded like Tony Ansell on steroids. It sounded like the man had never had a losing bet in his life. He was bragging he had 1,000s kicking king. He backed kicking king again on the day. Right? Who has 1,000s kicking king and then backs it again on the day at 8? Well, he did, and he let us know about it. And there's lots of other sound bites and this, that, and the other. But John, is he another BHA chairman? Despite some people in the racing post thinking this is a good thing for us punters, is he just another one in the long line that's just going to fall foul of the stakeholders, shall we say, running the show?
Well, let's be fair, he's not new in post, is he?
No.
You know. So I mean, that interview initially it would raise alarm bells that he's some kind of nutcase, but also it was very much a tummy tickling exercise because what wasn't asked was, well, what the fucking hell have you been doing up to now? Which should be asked of all of them.
It is, and it's this is a problem for me that whatever happens, and whoever you bring in, right, you can say your ideas, but if the stakeholders don't agree, and when I say stakeholders in the game, in the sport, it's ARC, it's Big Corp. If they don't get what they want, then they just don't play ball. And this is the racing for me reflects the wider society of how it is right now. Big Corp runs the show, and if Big Corp don't get what they want, then I mean it's like, you know, like as a socialist yourself, John, you'd want to tax Amazon more, you'd want to tax these more, that, you know, and basically take from the mega wealthy and distribute the wealth more efficiently so that everyone doesn't have to live incredibly miserably.
The trouble is, racing has absolutely no idea at the top as regards how to organise collective bargaining.
Yeah.
You see, all the BHA would need to do, really, in reality, is get the owners and the NTF on side. Then ARC, racecourse owners, so on and so forth, could all basically go fuck themselves because you could organise a boycott of their tracks.
I think that's it, innit? Yeah.
You'd need the trainers completely on side, you'd need the owners on side. But how many trainers and owners are campaigning for less racing, better prize money, which would all come about if there was massive cuts to the fixture list? Now, that said, if you threaten to boycott, the likes of ARC have no option to run with it. Otherwise, they just got white elephants on their hands because nobody enters their horses to run there.
Yeah, but like you say, it requires unanimous support. A bit like, obviously, you've got in the real world now, you have the rail strikes, you have the...
Well, again, though, you see, if the NTF made it policy, you rock along with this, otherwise you're no longer a licensed trainer. You know, BHA is still dishing licenses out.
Yeah.
And it's for the good of the sport. And I rate the make one or toe kicking up, say, oh, well, I'd love a walk over at an art cost for $2,000 in a cellar or whatever, you know.
Sadiq.
Yeah, and basically you just say to them, well, you'll go and do that, but you don't run at a licensed race course ever again. You're out.
Yeah, I mean, we go back in time. I mean, ARC rumoured, and I'd love a trainer to get in touch with us randomly under a random account. You don't even have to tell us that you're a trainer, but just tell us that you are. Well, you're a trainer, but we don't know who you are. I'm getting to it. That basically you've been approached by ARC to go flapping. You know, like. Because that would be like great evidence. I mean, even if we can't say it on a show or whatever, but whatever. If we knew that is definitely taking place, and I was told it had, trainers were contact, then that would be damning evidence for that ARC are basically sort of wanting to break away anyway, and do their own shit. You know, wall to wall betting, as we know. And that's the problem with the sport, John. Everyone's pulling in different directions. And like you said, if you could get the trainers and the NTF...
You get them on board if you had a cohesive plan.
Yes.
You know, but Harrington's been in post Christ knows how long. It's only a week or so ago. She said, now the rail work starts. I mean, I couldn't believe what I was hearing.
Yeah, and it shows as well, John, the crisis we have in terms of prize money for the sport, funding of the sport. We've had Stuart Williams on before telling us how it literally it can't work under its current guise. It's just going to keep falling and falling and falling, and that's highlighted. She's not high profile, but Grace McEntee this week, she's gone to the US. She's riding at Turfway Park with the plan that she's never coming back to ride in the UK. There might be cheers for that. There might be whatever. But look, the fact is, she did a very good interview with Bob Cooper, and basically, like she says, she can win one race in the USA, and it pays for 10. What cut she gets from winning 10 races in the UK?
She'll face less competition over there.
Yeah, I mean, Turfway race 4 days a week, 48 races a week. When they're racing, she's got no travelling expenses. She ain't got to drive up and down motorway for 180 miles return trips. To ride a race, to ride one runner, get 150 quid riding fee, and then 7% of 3,000 quid. It's 210 quid plus your riding, 360 quid. She said you could win a Turfway maiden special weight, which would be sort of $40,000 for the winner. So she's getting if it's the same, I don't know what the percentage of that. If it's the same, similar, she's getting nearly $3,000, John, for winning for the same. Like you said, she's right. She's spot on, and good luck to her. Really good luck to her. She decided to take that point of view, and it's the rest of her life. And I'm surprised, John, on back of this, that there ain't more sort of what we call average to okay jocks. You're not your Will Buicks, not your one's Thrasher Morris, maybe. I don't know. That aren't thinking, let's go over there, because kind of.
Well, you'd certainly earn more, wouldn't you?
Well, that's it. It don't make any sense to stay here. I wouldn't do it. If I was average as a jockey, and I'd be thinking, well, I ride 60 winners a year, if that. I'm having to drive to Chepstow, then day after I have to drive to Hamilton, and then and so on and so on. I'd be thinking, well, if I could just base myself at one track. That's what they do in the US. They have meets and where so you just rent accommodation, you stay there, you ride work in the morning for trainers. Then you come back for race days. You don't travel you don't have to spend time in car, wasting your life away. Sounds a great lot. They've got it right. Anyway, we'll move on to another subject. Paul Kimmage wrote an article in the Irish Independent, and it was basically highlighting how stinky Irish racing is. But it's stinky everywhere, and it's 13 months ago now, John, since that very drugs raid with John Warwick, the 74-year-old. He was classed as the tendon healer. He healed Snow Fairy for Ed Dunlop. You know, he was renowned for getting tendons fixed. And
it was like one of these evangelical ministers where they throw the fucking crutches away.
I believe I can fix Snow Fairy's tendon. And if you donate now $10 to this number now, I'll fix Snow Fairy's tendon. I believe. Sorry, that's terrible.
Yeah, I think $10.
Anyway, so this 74-year-old evangelist, John Warwick, as renowned as a tendon doctor and getting horses back, was found with a load of drugs that are illegal under Irish racing rules 13 months ago, and it was when horses have been found to be there. John Warwick maintains these drugs were banned for Q8 and nothing to do with Irish racing, whatever that means. You can just read into it. But in 13 months, John, nothing has been brought to the table in terms of solving what's gone off.
It's a tricky situation, isn't it? You know, I mean, when we used to go down to Brian Ellison's on a spring morning and be there for 6 a.m., I'd often stick a kilo of coke in the boat. But I was intending taking Latvia later that week, just to get it used to the travelling.
Well, that's it. It's got you got to see if it travels well.
Exactly.
But anyway, I mean, it stinks. It stinks, John, doesn't it? 13 months. There should be the inquiry should absolutely be finished, done.
Again, they don't want to do it. There isn't the will there to do it, is there? You know,
no, it's like, oh, not this. We don't want. It's the carpet. It's the carpet and the brush, isn't it?
Ah, the fucking carpet's nearly hitting the ceiling now, isn't it?
With British and Irish racing, yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
Thank you for Goodwill Punting for highlighting the Paul Kimmage article. Appreciate that.
I think you'll get this. This will just run and run and run, and like every 6 to 12 months, Paul Kimmage will just pop up like some thing that's dropped out of a haunted mirror, just to scare the shit out of the Irish racing authorities once in a while. But I can't see anything happening.
No, I'm in your camp. A dirty game, shall we say? ITV, though, talking about dirty games, finally talk about betting. Yes, it is right, folks. ITV racing, racing, horse racing, where you bet on it. Finally, talk about betting. Richard Hoyles did a fantastic little ditty on how to price a race and how he does it and how to finding value and basically it was. I credit where credit's due. There's no animosity from me here. I think that's really good from Richard Hoyles. To be fair to Richard as well, he's got a very good way of doing it, where he said you write your odds from 1 to 10 to 500 to 1, and then you're analysing horses in that race, and then you try and assign them a price. I would make it even simpler than that for any newbies. It's a similar line to what Richard said. I'd do the old A, B, C, D. So if you've got, say, for example, 12-runner handicap, flat or jumps, it doesn't matter. You then look at each runner, and then each runner, you look at them all. And then once you've done them all, you then assign them, is that a category A, category B? Is it a D because it won't go on the ground and it's a shit trainer, a shit jockey? You can put them in D. And then that's, rather than come with a price, which for some people find difficult equating a price, John, that's, for me, a better way, because if you've got then say 2 in your category A, and say one's 4 to 1 and one's 10 to 1, you know the 10 to 1 is wrong.
Yeah, because I think the signing price is a bit of an ask for somebody that's completely new at the sport anyway. So I think your method's probably better.
And don't you find anyway, like me and you, we're pretty old school, and it gut feeling anyway.
Oh,
a lot of it, as in like you look at a race, So you'll find a maiden, which is your specialities, like you're following maidens closely, and you'll think, well, this they'll put this in 6-4 surely, and then it's 7-2 night before, and you're thinking, fucking hell,
Yeah.
It's just gutting it. You're just thinking it'd be a 6-4 chance in that, and then it's 7-2.
That comes with experience, though, doesn't it?
It does. So this is advice basically for younger listeners into betting. That's how I would do it. A, B, C, D. Write it on a pad. So look at each runner and think, well, that's shit. It doesn't go on heavy ground. It's a shit jockey. This and the other trainer's out of form. D. And rate each runner like that, A, B, C, D. And good thing with that system, John, is that if you have a lot of A's and B's in a race, it means it's like uber competitive. Because if you say, well, that's an A, and then there might be 5 B's, and it's like, bloody hell, it's a strong race. So you know it should be 4-5 to on the field. And then that stops you getting over-involved in, say, an horse that you maybe liked a lot at pre-race, because the race has got depth. So that's my advice to anyone wanting to do that. But fair play to ITV on that, John, because they've talked about Gin, Alice Plunkett, and loads of shit.
Yeah, basically they've admitted now that the strategy was wrong, haven't they?
Yeah, totally. But it'd be interesting how they go forward with this. We need more of this, Richard. Richard Oils, if you're a listener, don't know if he is, but if somebody knows Richard Oils, tell him we've mentioned him and tell him it's a good thing and keep doing it. Last 2 subjects then to finish this blockbuster of a show. Claire Balding, John, she's come back.
Yeah, talking of things dropping out of haunted mirrors, yeah. Personally, I don't think there's many people who's done more damage to terrestrial racing coverage than Claire Balding.
That's interesting.
I felt when she was at the BBC, her one-woman jihad to make people who didn't like racing was very, very detrimental to the coverage. I found her manner with some of the other presenters absolutely appalling, particularly when Rishi Prasad was starting off, actually. I thought the narrative, when he was working for the BBC, was absolutely awful. He seemed to get every shit job going. It was carried on into Channel 4. She was definitely made the star presenter. And I never felt she did anything to justify it at all, other than talk down the people.
Only thing I ever saw Claire Balding useful for were 2 things. She looked like Glenn Louvens, the Celtic defender, and Sheffield Wednesday defender. And secondly, she highlighted how short Willie Carson was. That was it. That was my take on Claire Balding over the years.
I mean, Willie, I couldn't save you. Carson and her was just a dreadful combination after Jughead's on the BBC, wasn't it?
Yeah, he went massively downhill. So yeah, Claire Balding back. Won't spin it off really. The Kilt retires, John. To finish the show, the Kilt retires. Now, just to set you off on, I'm sure you've got an absolutely grade A rant on the Kilt. I thought I'd just reel off some stats. The Kilt, since he started training, he's had 29,431 runners, which is immense. 15% click. His last 3 years have been pretty dreadful. He's been operating at a 13% click, which is dreadful for the flesh he gets and the stock he gets. And if he doesn't lead, John, the man's $1 million. In fact, any Johnston horse that doesn't lead, you make fortunes in laying them. So for me, John, as a bettor, I'm saying the Kilt over time has been one of the most overrated, and as well a very obstropolous, just annoying human being of a trainer.
I mean, it's quite well documented. We don't get on.
No.
I mean, going back to when a friend of mine had a horse with him, and I pointed out that we wanted to boat the jockey and dish out the instructions. And at the time he said, well, I've had 2,000 winners and I've never given a jockey instructions. And I said, well, if you had, you might have had 3,000 winners. And that kind of set the tone for the relationship, you know. I found the blatherings on the Kingsley Clarion not just tedious, I found them full of self-importance, and the views on racing going forward, basically on ice cream sales, ridiculous in the extreme. I think he's probably realised people's catching on and his numbers are going to start dwindling. I think he's probably getting out at the right time. I'll be very, very interested to see what happens with Charlie taking over, if they carry on with the front-running tactics and what have you. I'm also very interested to see if he makes all the staff wear them ridiculous waistcoats when they're leading up.
Right, do you think... So, are we saying Charlie might revitalise the stats, or are we saying Charlie might be the next Jack to Alan Berry?
Wow. Charlie always struck me as a tremendous enthusiast.
Yes.
I think he's got a real appetite for work. It wouldn't surprise me if the support continues to see a bit of a resurgence on the percentage at Kingsley House, because I think Charlie might be a little bit more into pace biases and things, and you know, because I mean he's always been interested in a punt, hasn't he, right from being a kid?
Well, that's it. Johnston, as we know, McCall, whether he's or Tryon McCall, Ascot, Goodwood, Beverley, Newmarket, whatever.
He's basically a laughing stock in middle distance classics, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean he's had really good horses, and his rumours. Yeah, absolutely. It'd be interesting if Charlie can sort of like think.
If he can rein that in and get horses the right kind of ride round tracks where it's not terribly advantageous to make the running, he could find he's doing quite a bit better than his old man. It's not beyond the bounds of possibility. He could be the one to train more winners. Because he's starting from a much better base than his old man did.
Yeah. So 13% last 3 years, very disappointing for the Kilt followers and the Kilt clan merchants and the jacket, the Kilt, the waistcoat wearers. Let's hope it turns for Charlie going forwards into 2023. Right, we hope you enjoyed this show. We did. It's a pity Chris couldn't join us, but he can't be arsed. He's that kind of fella. So me and John kicking you off into 2023, hopefully in the right way. And you've enjoyed the listen. We'll be back on Friday tipping more rubbish, and next Sunday as well as usual. Don't miss out. That's all from us. Bye for now.